for us, Austin will be running the program. He's got final recommendation to myself on any decisions that need to be made. I think it's the job of both Justin, Danny, and myself to kind of plug into him. And so hopefully that alleviates quite a few questions of who kind of has the final decision on roster and management and personnel. His resume speaks for himself, for 17 years kind of growing up, either playing hoops, scouting, coaching, and particularly on roster management.
There you go. That's Ryan Smith, the Utah Jazz and Utah Mammoth owner, speaking Monday afternoon after they made the announcement that they were hiring Austin Ainge as the president of basketball operations. Of course, Austin is the son of current Jazz CEO Danny Ainge. Lot of takeaways from that. Again, it came out at the beginning of the week on Monday, but there's Ryan Smith alleviating a lot of the questions, as he put it. Austin will have final recommendation. Of course, Ryan is the owner. Ryan Smith is the owner. Any decision that's made has to go through him. But it's basically Austin is the one saying, hey, you should do this. Hey, we should do this. So Austin is the guy. This is huge for the Jazz.
Yes.
Because this is basically the identity of the team. It is the man in charge. And you hear that basically Justin Zanuck, the general manager, and of course, Danny Ainge, the CEO, will basically be under Austin. Austin will have final recommendation on everything. So this is big.
It's a big hire for the Utah Jazz. I think as they continue to navigate the rebuild, as they continue to navigate kind of the direction of where they want things to go and where they want to end up, I think Austin, I think it's a good hire. Austin was a part of that Celtics front office staff that went through a similar situation, right, where the Celtics kind of retooled and rebuilt their roster, specifically, drafting Tatum and building that Boston Celtics NBA championship side. And so he brings that experience with him now to the Utah Jazz, and I'm excited to see what Austin Ainge's vision for the Utah Jazz team is.
I'm glad you bring that up, and we'll start there. Of course, 17 years in Boston. Before that, he spent some time. Got to give a shout out again to my T-Birds. He was an assistant coach there for a season.
Parker, can we keep tally of how many times SCU has been mentioned on today's show?
I think that's 5 or 6. But no, I think that the Boston ties are obviously huge because Will Hardy spent some time there. Yeah. Danny Ainge spent some time there. Austin, 17 years there. A few other members of this Jazz staff and front office come from Boston. And Ryan Smith was on DJ and PK. So that was a press conference on Monday. Ryan joined DJ and PK on Thursday to talk about basically Danny and Austin and the big roles that they had in Boston's success.
Yeah, I mean, I think since 2018, they went to the final, one of the finals like 5 or 6 times, which is incredible given the fact that no one goes there and knocks on the door and it opens. It's almost unheard of. Everyone's going there and then having to retool a little bit. They've had to go multiple times to get that championship. Even when I took over and we took over the Jazz, we had a great regular season, but we were clearly far away when we got into the playoffs every year. What happens is you go back and retool and you sharpen the tool to go back again. You make some changes, you add some pieces. Ultimately, you run out of time. And what they've been able to do to prolong that run by not only keeping your stars and your players in a good spot so that they still believe and they want to come back, keeping your coach and the organization in a good spot, and not getting too emotional so you take all of the assets you have and then the clock runs out on you. It's pretty strategic, and there's a lot that goes into it, and I think they've done a good job as anyone we've seen in doing that. And then if you look at all their characteristics of those two and kind of how they lead and how they are, it really makes sense. Danny does keep everyone confident in a good spot, and he really is just a joy to be around. They have a strong belief where they'll say no to stuff that could come back and bite you.
I love that. Because, yes, of course, we know that, first off, for the big swing, right? The 2008 championship, the Celtics had to trade for Kevin Garnett.
Yes.
And they brought Garnett and Paul Pierson and Ray Allen, and they had Rondo. And so they assembled this super team, and they went and chased the championship. And then however many years later, they had to make the decision to blow it up. And they traded away all those guys and accumulated all these picks. And there's Ryan right there literally comparing the Utah Jazz to that.
Yes.
And he said it's hard. You can't become emotionally attached to some of these rosters, no matter how good you think you are. You know, if you're not winning the finals yet, odds are you're probably not going to make it. And apologies, first off. That was with Hans and Scotty, not DJ and PK. And I cut some things down from there, but I like him basically admitting, like, yeah, that's why we had to blow up the Jazz roster when I first bought the team.
Yes.
We weren't close. No matter how good we were in the regular season, we weren't close.
Yeah.
And that showed time and time again throughout the playoffs. So they felt the only way forward from there was to blow it up and restart. And obviously Danny and Austin have the experience of building that team in Boston that went to the finals or won the finals, I want to say 3 out of the past 5 years. So that's huge there. That's some great insight as to why they made that move. And, of course, the nepotism thing was a big deal, but I think, I don't know, I wasn't ever worried about that at all because, again, this is a guy who was basically the number 2 guy, the right-hand man in Boston, right? I think his resume speaks for itself, and those were Ryan's words as well. Austin, on some of the interviews he's done, mentioned that he was planning to talk to several other teams this summer, and so he took the opportunity with the Jazz. It's not like the only reason he's here is because of Danny. Now, he might have got his foot in the door in Boston because of his dad, but I don't think this job right now is specifically because of Danny.
I would agree. Nepotism is a thing.
It is a thing.
It's a thing. And there's clearly some situations where nepotism and it doesn't work out, right? It crashes and burns quickly. They're not meant for the role. They're not meant to be in the league, whatever the case may be. But there are certain times where people crash and burn with nepotism. I don't think that's the case here. I think, sure, maybe he did get his foot in the door because of his dad, all those years ago. But even after Danny left, they kept him around in Boston. It's not like they fired him. Right. They saw...
He didn't come over with Danny right away.
Exactly.
In 2022 or whenever it was, or 20
whatever. Had that happened then, maybe we're having a different conversation. But I think it's the fact that Boston saw his value. They kept him on. He helped build that team that won that championship last year for the Boston Celtics, right? Yeah. Like you mentioned, like Ryan Smith mentioned, his resume speaks for itself. It's a different conversation if, Boston fired him because he didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah.
But here, it's a different story. Maybe all those years ago, yes, there was a conversation of nepotism, but I think right now Austin Ainge has the resume to rebuild a team.
Yeah, and it's a little murky on what exactly his title was in Boston because we know that Brad Stevens was in charge there. We know that Brad Stevens is essentially I don't even know if his title is president of basketball operations, but Brad Stevens is the guy in Boston. So as long as he was there, Austin was never going to get this opportunity there. But as you say, he was extremely valuable there. Some other tidbits we've got to get to. He made some waves because he was asked about the team last year manipulating the starting lineups, right? And he gave a short answer. He said, you won't see that this year. And so first off, and I love the way that fans think, there are a lot of fans that were like, oh, we're trading for Jaylen Brown. We're trading for Giannis. We're going all in next year.
I don't think that's what that means.
No, that is not what that means.
Yeah, I don't think that's what that means.
Let's play. Okay, Austin joined, and this was on DJ and PK. DJ and PK asked him about that, and I want to play Austin's answer first, and then we can kind of get into that. So this was Austin's follow-up to You Won't See That Again.
And I think we have to keep all of those different ways on the table. The optionality, we have to find value, and we have to make smart moves. And so I don't know how it'll play out, to be honest. It's still too early. We'll have to see what opportunities present themselves to us. But if you go back to the question that was asked before that soundbite, it was asked in a specific way, and I responded to that. We're gonna fight to the end. We're gonna let whatever group we end up with fight, and we're gonna let Will Hardy fight and try to win and improve, and we're gonna do everything we can every night. So that's kind of the question I was answering.
So again, the question was basically about manipulating. The Jazz got fined. Remember, the Jazz got fined for tanking, for basically holding Lauri Markkanen out when he wasn't injured, and they did similar things with Colin Sexton and John Collins. So that's what the question was asking, if we're going to see that again, holding these players out that are healthy, but you want to lose games, so you don't want them on the floor. Him saying you won't see that this year. And of course, with DJ and PK, he's not going to come out and give their plan, right? You don't want to show your hand. You don't want to announce to everybody,
right,
hey, we're tanking again. Hey, we're going to make a big move in a month. We're going to try and make a big trade.
Yeah.
No, what he's saying is just, you won't see us holding out players to lose on purpose. Now, reading in between the lines, as you've mentioned a couple times on this show, if they fall lower than 8th in the lottery, that pick goes to Oklahoma City because of a dumb trade that was made years ago, sending Derek Favors over to the Thunder. This is the last year of that pick being a threat to conveying. So it's a line that you have to walk. You either have to be so good that you don't care about losing that pick, or you have to be so bad that you're not at a risk of losing that pick. And you look at next year's draft and how good it is with AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson, all those guys. Yeah, you want to be picking at the top of that draft again, but you don't want to be middle of the road to where, say you finish with the 8th worst record and lose 1 or 2 spots in the lottery, that pick goes to the Thunder.
Right.
So that would be about, in this year's draft, that would be about 25, 30 wins for comparison. So you still want to do your best to stay around 20 to 25 wins if you can. Which, taking that, plus what Austin Ainge said, again, I'm just interpreting that. I'm reading in between the lines. I'm making assumptions. That sounds like the Jazz are probably going to trade away some vets that would theoretically help them win games, because I don't think that they're going to want to try and win games next year.
Well, and it's something we've talked about, too, in prior weeks here, Christian. You're losing value on Lauri.
Right. The longer that he is not contributing to a winning team, whether that's playing on a 23-win Jazz team or not playing on a 17-win Jazz team, he's losing value.
Right.
His value was at its highest when he made the All-Star team. They had a chance to trade him away last summer, according to reports, but the Warriors weren't willing to meet the Jazz's value for Lauri. And that's actually a good segue, because Danny Ainge, with a lot of interviews to play with, Danny Ainge joined DJ and PK, and they asked him about missing out on big game hunting, his iconic quote that people took and ran with. And this is what Danny had to say about missing out on big game hunting.
Well, so we have gone after some of the bigger players and bigger names and more star-like players to add to our current roster. But, in the league now, there's not many of them right now that are available. And those that do come available, there's 8 or 10 teams trying to get them too. So I think maybe the most important thing is what you're saying, is that what you have to trade matters a lot. And most of the trades that I've made in my career are because the other team really, really wanted what I had. And that's why you make trades. I mean, it's tough to call a team and sell them on a player that they don't want. And so they spend all their time looking around the teams they want and call the teams that have players they want. And So that's the most important thing, is just having the assets. And we do have the draft picks, and we do have good players, like you mentioned. But if they're not good players in the eyes of the teams that have the star player, there probably isn't going to be a deal done.
Takeaway number one, obviously, like Danny said, there just wasn't any big game available on the market to go and get. Takeaway number two, teams not being interested in the Jazz's players, which, as you're talking about depreciating value, that's going to happen when these guys are not on the floor.
Absolutely. And like Danny says, you can't really force someone to take a player they don't want.
Right.
So you have to, again, they have a lot of questions. They have a big Lowry question that they need to answer this offseason.
Well, and then you get into, forcing a team to take a player you don't want. That's when you either attach draft picks like the Derek Favors trade, which why would the Jazz do that right now?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you look at the Lowry packages that were suggested last year. You're talking about Jonathan Kuminga, some picks, and Brandon Pajemski. The Jazz wanted Brandon Pajemski included. The Warriors didn't. So since the Warriors didn't want to include him, the Jazz were like, okay, well, we don't have to trade Lowry, which was true. And they ended up not trading him. And that's basically showing, the Jazz have a value on Lowry Markkanen, and they don't want to trade him for what he's not worth, right? They want to make sure that they're getting enough in return for Lowry Markkanen to make the trade worth it. And with the depreciating value, as far as him being held out a lot of last season, it's going to make it hard to swing a trade that is quote unquote worth it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, there are people talking about, insiders. Like, I'm not saying random people on Twitter. I'm talking insiders saying that this is probably going to be a crazy offseason for the NBA as far as player movement.
Yes.
Teams are trying to navigate the second apron and all of that. So we could see a lot of movement in the NBA. Number one, I think any movement is good for the Jazz because that means, some of these guys could be available. Number two, as we saw with the Luka Doncic trade and several other trades at the deadline, the Jazz are not afraid to be facilitators, whether it's just picking up an extra second-round pick or a couple second-round picks. I mean, those can be stacked in the future and turn into something, right? So whether or not the Jazz are involved in any huge trades, they might be facilitating some things. They might be taking on some salary. They might be matching contracts and stuff like that. I keep mentioning, you talk about Giannis, you talk about Kevin Durant. Those are two of the bigger names. But then you've got, the Knicks, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Rockets. You've got several teams interested in those two big guys, right? Mm-hmm. Literally big guys. So whoever misses out on them, somebody's going to miss out. They'll probably be interested in Lowry as a plan B or C. So I think the Jazz are going to have the opportunity to make some big moves this summer. I do want to mention we have a poll up on the Zone Twitter account right now, courtesy of Parker. He posted that. I want to get the wording right. What should the Jazz do for the 25-26 season? Option A, tank baby tank. Option B, no tank, same roster. Or option C, make a big trade swing. So I'm assuming tank baby tank would be trading away Lowry and or John Collins, Colin Sexton. No tank, same roster would be throwing these guys out and saying, okay, go play ball.
We're gonna do the
and
same
that's
thing.
where you get into the risk of losing the draft pick, right? Because if you trot out this same roster, you're probably winning around 30, 35 games, I would say. Or make a big trade swing, try to win. If you make a bid, obviously it would depend on who the player is, but if you make a big trade, like realistically, what is your ceiling? Like 40?
Right.
40 wins? Is that worth it? Because you're still losing the draft pick.
Yeah,
at
and
that
I was
point.
about to say you'll lose that pick. I think honestly, I think the tank baby tank and the make a big trade swing right now kind of go hand in hand because like you said, there is going to be movement. There is going to be a lot of movement this offseason in the NBA. I think we're about to enter an absolutely wild offseason for basketball and for the NBA. And I think Lowry Markkanen is going to be a big part of that. The Jazz will make a big trade swing, but it's not going to be bringing somebody in. It's going to be finding a big trade for Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, I think in the context of the poll, the trade swing would be gaining somebody, but I see what you're saying. Right now, Tank Baby Tank leads with 57% of the vote, and then make a big trade swing is 27.5% of the vote. So only 15.5% of people want to see the same roster trotted out on the court. In my opinion, I think that would be the worst option.
Yes.
Because you're not guaranteed a playoff spot, but you're going to be good enough that you lose that draft pick. So I think that's like the least amount of reward at the end of the year. You either tank and try and get a top 5 pick again, or you make a big trade swing and position yourself for playoffs either next year or the year after. We'll see.
It might suck to hear this, Jazz fans, but it's going to be another tank season.
I think Jazz fans are in for at least one more season of tanking.
Of purely, truly tanking.
Again, getting into the roster manipulation, it's not going to be as icky as, Lauri Markkanen stubbed his toe. He's going to be out today. No, it's going to be, let's trade away, all of our veterans, and we're playing 10 guys under the age of 23 or 24. That's what the new tank will probably look like. And again, we'll see. We will see. We got to take a break. Coming up next, we will get into 5 minutes of course, we got Stanley Cup playoffs. Last night's game was electric. And then a big-name quarterback just signed his deal. It's all official. We'll hit that next. This is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time for 5 minutes of. Got some other sports news to talk about. Not a ton of time, so we will get through it quickly. Alex, let's start with NHL Stanley Cup Finals, because last night's game somehow was even more intense than Game 1, and I would argue even more intense than maybe NBA Finals Game 1. Would you go that far? I don't know. The game-winning shot at the buzzer is pretty crazy, but
I would probably say yes, because like we were mentioning with the NBA Finals, the OKC Thunder, it looked like they were going to run away with it. But when it came to Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals, it was literally just boom, 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 back and forth, like a true nail biter. I had no idea who was going to win this.
right.
It was back and forth, just high-paced, hard-hitting action, and I truly had no idea who was going to take this game.
In case you missed it, Game 1 goes to overtime. Edmonton takes it 4-3 in overtime. Connor McDavid had a beautiful pass to Draisaitl. Draisaitl finds the back of the net. I love golden goal, by the way. I think that's my favorite overtime format in all of sports.
Yeah.
Whether it's soccer or hockey. I think that's amazing.
It makes it so exciting.
Because anytime they get close to the net, it's like,
this could be it. This could be it right here. And once you see that goal go in, man, oh man, just the electricity from, I mean, you saw it in Game 1, right? When Edmonton, when Draisaitl scored the overtime winner.
And it was in Edmonton as well.
The eruption of the arena was just absolutely incredible. Now you contrast it to Game 2 where Marchand goes and he scores the overtime winner, and you can hear a pin drop on the ice in that arena.
Right, it's Florida taking Game 2 double overtime, but it was in Edmonton still.
Yes.
So, you know what? I changed my mind. Parker, can you play that? This is the game-winning goal last night.
Draisaitl back out for a shot by Ekholm, missed the net. Ahead for Marchand, moving in on Skinner. Marchand it's in, he scores! Marchand wins Game 2 for the Panthers in double overtime. Brad Marchand anticipates this puck. It takes a fortunate bounce. This is exactly the same as his short-handed goal.
So first off, I want to point out that was off of an Edmonton shot.
Yeah.
Edmonton, I think it was Draisaitl, or he might have passed it off to somebody else. Somebody took a shot and it went past the net, bounced off the boards, and the Panthers had a breakaway opportunity.
Right.
And the winger gets it out to Marchand in front, and it's Marchand. He's one-on-one with the goalie, and he's got somebody draped over his back, hitting at his stick, and he does such a great job of keeping the puck in possession, and he fakes like he's going to It's such an interesting shot. He fakes like he's going to backhand it in, and then it looked like he switched it over to his forehand, and he was going to forehand it in, but it never hit the forehand. It went through the goalie's legs. So I don't know if that was on purpose or if it was just luck, but the puck slipped through in between the goalie's legs. And as you were pointing out, Alex, it's quiet in the Oilers arena with the away team taking game 2 in double overtime. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I think the thing that sticks out the most to me from that clip is just you can't hear the crowd, man.
No.
You can't.
They're like shocked.
I would be too. If I was, in the arena as an Edmonton Oilers fan, I would be too, because again, you have a really phenomenal opportunity here to take game 2, make it a 2-0 series as you head to Florida. And instead, and like you mentioned, it's coming off of an opportunity, right? You have the excitement and the emotions.
Right.
Of
Edmonton takes the shot.
Yeah,
and you're like, this
your
could be
team
it.
taking the shot, and again, it's next goal wins. So you're like, oh, and then it puck goes the other way, and just the heartbreak of the overtime winner for Marchand. It's this series, man, living up to the hype.
Well, yeah, we talked about last year. Florida won the first 3 games. Edmonton won the next 3 games, forced to game 7, and it was intense. Game 1 this year goes to overtime. Game 2 goes to double overtime. Maybe game 3 will go to triple overtime. It's kind of a joke, but that would be cool. I mean, it's been so much fun because these are clearly the 2 best teams in hockey, and it's crazy. Just I loved the Utah Hockey Club, now the Mammoth, being here in year 1.
Yep. But
watching these 2 teams, watching championship caliber hockey, these are probably the 2 best teams in the world right now. It's just a different animal.
Yes. And let's I got to give credit to the Edmonton. Corey Perry scores with seconds left
18 seconds.
With seconds left in that third quarter, right?
To force overtime. Florida had the what was it? 4
It was 4-3 at the time.
4-3 lead. Florida had the 4-3 lead.
Yep.
Corey Perry scores with 18 seconds left to force overtime.
Yep. You got McJesus carrying the Oilers, putting the team on his back and creating, and then 18 seconds left, you score to make it 4-4, and then you head to what was one of a phenomenal overtime period. This series, again, living up to the hype, man. Cannot wait for Game 3. And I hope that this goes the distance and goes up to Game 7, because I think as a neutral, watching the Stanley Cup Finals, it would be absolutely phenomenal.
So with an overtime and a double overtime, we've had 9 periods of hockey across 2 games.
Love it.
Oh, it's been great.
Love it.
Again, similar to the NBA, they have 2 days off in between games. So the next game will be Monday, and they will be going to Florida. Again, series is tied 1-1. NFL news. Aaron Rodgers making up his mind. We knew sort of that it was coming. The expectation was that he was going to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it is official. It was announced, was that yesterday or the day before? I think it was 2 days ago, right?
I think Thursday, the initial reports came out, signed, and the contract was signed by Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken.
And the deal, the reports are coming out. It is a 1-year, $13.65 million contract, $10 million guaranteed, and could be worth up to $19.5 million with incentives. Meh. Yeah. I don't care. I mean,
no, and it's fine to say you don't care, because it's been dragged out the entire offseason.
Right.
We knew it was coming. We knew it was going to happen. It just took forever because Aaron Rodgers likes to
song and dance.
Likes to be a little diva about things, and we knew it was coming. Now that it's actually happened, I'm like, great. Who cares?
Yeah, well, I was talking to you off air a little bit. Like, Aaron Rodgers used to be one of my favorite players in the NFL, but his antics over the last probably, I'll say 4 or 5 years, even going back to the COVID stuff, like, that really turned me off of him, and I'm kind of sick of him. But man, watching him on the field, like, watching his highlights are just magical. And he's still got a little bit of touch, and I think that's why why he's coming back. I think he still believes that he can play at least, an average level. The problem is he's not ring chasing because the Steelers aren't close. And they're the third best team in their division. Last year with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers went 5-12. The Steelers with Russell Wilson went 10-7. Do you think the Steelers win more than 10 games with Aaron Rodgers?
I don't think so.
I don't think so at all. Because they brought in DK Metcalf, but they traded away
Pickens.
George Pickens. Yeah. The rest of their offense, Jalen Warren is a fine running back. They drafted Caleb Johnson, but I don't think he's that great. TJ Watt is an animal. The defense is always going to be good. I think Mike Tomlin is a good coach. Structurally, the Steelers organization is a much better organization than the Jets, so I don't think that this is an absolute dumpster fire like that was with Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't see more than 10 wins. I don't see this improving them at all. And the one thing about the AFC North is that that division is always competitive within itself, right? You hardly see anybody get swept in division. Most of these series go 1-1. They'll beat each other all of the time. But if the Bengals are fully healthy, I don't think that Pittsburgh's better than them. Definitely not the Ravens. So, yeah, you might not even make the playoffs as the third best team in your division.
Look, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Aaron Rodgers was special. He was phenomenal. He was fantastic. But, the Jets have left a stain on his legacy. Yeah. His time with the Jets have put a pretty big stain on his legacy. And so I think, this is a good opportunity for him to try to regain some of that respect and regain some of that legacy. But truly, I don't see this. I think even 10 is pushing it. I would probably say 9 or 8 is probably the ceiling for this Steelers team with Aaron Rodgers.
I agree. And that's where the Steelers have been for most of their time. Mike Tomlin's whole thing is he's never had a season below 500. And yes, they went to the Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl with him, but it's for the last, I want to say 10 years, yes, they barely made the playoffs, but they've really been right around 500.
Yeah.
And I think that's the curse of Mike Tomlin. And I don't want to put all of the blame on him because they've been playing with an old Ben Roethlisberger. They've had Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and now a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. It's you don't have your franchise quarterback. So I think you'd just be better off at this point. I think they should have kept Justin Fields. I think that would have been the better option.
I would agree.
Or bottoming out and trying to get a legit franchise quarterback because these guys aren't cutting it. Because what? Aaron Rodgers is going to play for 1 year and then what? You win 8 games, pick 16 or 17?
Yeah.
I
just don't.
Who's your next
I just
quarterback?
don't think it's in the Steelers' culture to really bottom out.
No, it's not, and it's hard,
and that's fine, right? I'm not going to fault them for that because at the end of the day, that gives you better football and gives you a better product. But truly, I think signing Aaron Rodgers is literally just a Band-Aid, and it's not going to. Even if they do make it into the playoffs, I don't see them going any further than past game 1. I think game 1 is
no. They haven't won a playoff game in forever.
Game 1 is their ceiling.
When is the last time?
I think it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
I think so. I could be wrong though. Is 16, 17 somewhere in that range?
Yeah, 2016.
There you
season.
go. I was close.
They beat the Dolphins. That's funny.
I don't even remember that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Again, okay, so great. You're going to win 9 games with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Pick 16, 17 in next year's draft, and who's your quarterback going to be?
It doesn't, it doesn't scream rebuild, and like I said, it's not in the Steelers' culture to completely bottom out. I just think that they're going to be stuck here in the middle until
forever.
Until they actually decide what they want to do, and if they can actually find a franchise quarterback.
Zach Wilson, you are a Pittsburgh Steeler in 1 year. You heard it here first.
Well, I like that. We'll see.
He learned under Aaron Rodgers.
He did. He did. Oh my gosh, I forgot they played together.
They did. Yeah. You know what? I just spoke that into existence.
Write it down, Parker.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up next, we will wrap this baby up. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up another edition of the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza and Alex Napoles. Alex, you had something that you were saving for the end of the show.
First of all, great show. Happy to be alongside you, as always, here on Saturdays.
Thanks, man.
lot of information that we got to ingest today. But I think my favorite news of the week has to be so Lil Wayne, one of the more popular rappers, put out an album and gave Puka Nacua a shout out. And I think it's great. I think that's awesome for Puka.
Yeah.
Getting a little shout out on a big hip hop rap album. But man, it sucked.
The album.
Oh, dude, it was terrible.
Yeah. I'm a big Lil Wayne fan. I think he's Mount Rushmore of rappers. He's on there, right? He's got to be, but he's past his prime.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
That was not good.
Yeah, but between this, Puka Nacua getting a shout out on this, John Stockton got a shout out from Kendrick Lamar
Yeah.
in Not Like Us.
Look, man.
So, Utah, we're up there.
We're making it.
We're making waves.
Absolutely. And it's great. Anytime Salt Lake City or Utah's mentioned, we love it.
Gets wrapped.
Because we're weird and we really want people to like our state.
Right. We are kind of insecure about being liked, and I get it because there is a stigma about people from the outside not liking us, but
yes,
we treat our celebrities, we're very attached to them because we feel like that is kind of what represents us, which in a way it is. But yeah, so anytime that our celebrities get shown love, we feel like that is Utah in general getting shown love. So
yeah,
it is cool.
And anytime, yeah, absolutely. And anytime there's an outsider that comes out, we just absolutely cling on to them too.
Yeah.
Like when Post Malone comes in
yep.
and says how great Utah is, we're like, yes, one of us.
I'm trying to find the lyric exactly what he says. Do you have it pulled up or no?
From Lil Wayne?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it pulled up.
What does he say?
He says, making catches, or we catch them like Puka Nacua.
We catch him he does catch him.
In his new song, Mula Coming In, I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Don't listen to the album, though. It's not good. Just know that Puka Nacua is mentioned in it.
Yeah.
And it's also a little play on, his whole Pokemon thing. We got to catch them all like Puka Nacua.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's obviously he's a receiver. He catches them, and then his little love for Pokemon. So
we were just talking about Pokemon in the break.
Yeah.
As far as here on the station, what else we have going on for the day? RSL off today. The Royals last night, they lost, right?
They played and they lost.
I heard DJ on the call.
Yeah.
Was it a TV game?
He calls him.
I didn't know that. I thought it was our guy JP.
It was
So for TV, it's DJ.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tuned in to hear the end of it, and I heard DJ talking about a Royals win. I was like, oh.
Royals lost.
Royals lost, excuse me.
They didn't win. 3-2. Got a red card.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Did somebody punch another player?
No, it was just a double yellow situation.
Oh.
Yeah, nothing too exciting.
Anyways, that has nothing to do with today. Bees only for today. RSL is off, so the Bees will be playing at home against Red Rock. That game is at 7. Round Rock.
Yes. Tough week for the Bees too.
It's always a tough week.
Yeah, tough week for the Bees. Hey though, there's an awesome event happening at Rice Eccles Stadium later today.
Oh yeah,
the Mexican national team.
I'm glad you bring this up.
The Mexican national team's going to be there. We got my dad tickets for Father's Day to go see the Mexican national team.
Oh, that's sick.
So we'll be up at Rice Eccles catching some soccer. So if you see me,
are they playing?
Stop me and say hi.
Switzerland.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and that's cool that it's at Rice Eccles because it's a much bigger stadium even than America First Field, and that's a big deal as we hopefully prepare. And I say we as a country, right? United States as well as Canada and Mexico to get ready to host the World Cup.
Absolutely.
So getting some international teams to come in here and play. We're not going to have any games in Utah, but that's huge. And it could open the door for something down the road. And then Team USA is playing Team Mexico next week, right? But not here.
Not here, no. So USA is playing Turkey and Switzerland, and then Mexico.
Okay.
Mexico will play Turkey next. So they're just flipping opponents.
I was, funny enough, so I got a haircut the other day, and he's a big soccer fan, my barber, and he's going to this game.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about, how cool would it have been for Team USA to play here in Salt Lake City because Diego Luna's on the roster.
That would be amazing.
But unfortunately, no, they are not playing here.
That would be awesome. But we are going to go see the Mexican national team later today, so I'm looking forward to it, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, if you see Alex there, stop by and
I promise I'm nice.
tell him what you think about the Jazz.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Jazz. We'll talk about
Tell him what you think about SZA and Kendrick Lamar.
I was telling you in the break, I don't know if people actually know who SZA is, but we'll find out.
We'll build an audience.
Yeah, there you go. All right, man.
Okay, we got to end it. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week. Enjoy your weekend. This is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.